When it comes to buying a home, it can feel downright intimidating and sometimes just confusing when it comes to deciding how much money you need to set aside to make the home purchase happen. Luckily, there are a lot of trusted advisors out there that can help you through the process. Today, I want to take you through what experts agree are the most important things you need to set aside to make the home purchase happen. The first part is down payment. Now, many people come to me and say, hey, I need 20% down, right? And I say, well, no, not necessarily. You don't need 20% down. In fact, NAR says one of the biggest misconceptions among housing consumers is what the typical down payment is and what amount is needed to enter home ownership. Having this knowledge is critical to know what to save up for. The good news is you may be able to put down anywhere from 3.5% or even to 0% for a down payment in the right circumstance. So get with a trusted advisor as soon as possible to figure out what your down payment options will be. The next part that people get confused about is earnest money. Now, earnest money, as defined by First American here, is the deposit made from the buyer to the seller when submitting an offer. This deposit is typically held in trust by a third party, the title company, and is intended to show the seller you are serious about purchasing their home. Upon closing, the money will be generally applied to your down payment or closing cost. Now, again, earnest money deposit is not technically a necessary part of the contract, but it is typically a practice that is carried out in all markets. Here in San Antonio, the earnest money deposit is typically about 1% of the sales price, but I've seen it, fluctuate all the way down to $500. I've seen, in really darker times, $1 earnest money. But in really competitive markets where the seller is in the driver's seat, I've seen the earnest money explode above the 1%, and sometimes used as a tactic to get the attention of the seller that the buyer is really strong. So the earnest money deposit, again, is something that's refundable, and it is also able to be applied toward the purchase of the home. The third and one of the most confusing and fluctuating parts is closing cost. Closing costs, as defined here by the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, is the upfront fees charged in connection with a mortgage loan transaction, generally including but not limited to a loan origination fee, title examination and insurance, survey, attorney's fees, and prepaid items such as escrow deposits for taxes and insurance. That last part there, the taxes and insurance, are some of the higher parts of the closing costs. We have some higher taxes here in San Antonio, Bexar County area. So you definitely want to pay attention to what the taxes are on any home. So even if you have a list of homes, they're all priced the same, the taxes could vary quite dramatically and make a big impact on your monthly payment. So you want to know what that is because it's going to calculate in with your closing costs. Now, how much generally do you need to save for closing costs? NAR has this to say about closing costs. A home costs more than just the sales price. For example, closing costs, which make up about 2 to 5% of the home's purchase price, are a major added expense. Lenders provide a closing disclosure at least 3 business days prior to closing on a mortgage, but buyers will need to budget for these added costs ahead of time to avoid sticker shock days before closing. So the key takeaways here is that you can plan ahead. You don't need a huge down payment like 20% down. You can do 3.5 to even 0 down in the right circumstances. Your earnest money deposit is a negotiable point in the contract. While it's not necessary to have that, it's generally going to be expected that there is an earnest money deposit in the contract. So get with your trusted advisor on how much you should put down for that. And then closing costs, anywhere from 2 to 5% according to NAR is what should be expected, but that can fluctuate from house to house. So hopefully that helps you budget for your next home purchase. And if you have any questions, I'm always here. Have a great day.